Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bollinger Insurance podcast called Speaking of Insurance. My name is Aaron Bollinger.
I'm Brian Bollinger.
Today, we're going to be talking about contractors.
Insurance.
All right,
Okay.
let's get going.
Who
Okay,
doesn't love
so as
insurance, right? So we do, of course. So contractors have a unique role in our society, right? They're always building stuff, fixing stuff, making things happen, keeping it so we have a roof over our head, shops for our businesses, and making sure that the lights stay on. So contractors are really, really important in our society today. The challenge is being a contractor requires a lot of insurance, especially the larger you get, the more complex projects you have, a lot of pressures and stresses on contractors. One of the main things that contractors need to be aware of is the exposures they have when their employees are driving vehicles. That's probably one of the major things where we see significant claims, significant pressures in terms of umbrella and excess liability policies to, respond to those kinds of bad, accidents that can obviously occur. There's some things you can do, and we can love to talk to you about that. The other aspect, though, that's also true is employees in general pose liability beyond just the driving. Obviously, as a employer of people, you're required to have workers' compensation insurance. And workers' compensation insurance, at least in California, is a no-fault situation. What that means is, even if an employee is even 1% injured on the job by something, they essentially have lifetime medical and can get paid by your workers' comp insurance, potentially for lost wages for the rest of their life. So it's a pretty generous benefit to employees. But in return for that, what that means is they can't sue you for, negligence or not being a good employer or those kinds of things. There are things like Cal OSHA and federal OSHA that do also regulate safety programs and have additional requirements that, obviously you still have to comply with. But again, it does set the bar pretty high in terms of your liability. And so that's the exchange that you make. You pay the workers' comp premium, the workers' comp insurance company pays the claims. And, of course, the only issue you have is if you start having a lot of claims, your X mod goes up, your experience modification factor goes up, and suddenly you'll be paying twice or even triple what you should be paying for workers' comp insurance. So one of the things at Bollinger we try to do is we try to help our contractor clients essentially control their costs by controlling their risks. So we try to talk about cost mitigation, risk mitigation, and obviously after you have claims, it's harder to do that. So we talk about having an aggressive safety program, training program, also hiring program. So there's things we can do on all those fronts to help our clients reduce their exposure or potential exposures to workers' comp claims.
so what type of strategies have you seen implemented or would want to see implemented that you think could be successful at mitigating the exposures that these contractors might be experiencing?
Well, every contractor is unique, right? I mean, it's hard to say, right? I mean, a framing contractor is different than a concrete contractor, which is different than, say, even a painter, right? Every trade, every skilled trade has their own unique things. Like even if you're like an HVAC person, doing duct work, sheet metal work, right? You think about that. That sheet metal is really sharp. I mean, gloves, for example, are probably the primary safety feature you have there. But even things like goggles, right? Also, we do see a lot of people, wearing hard hats in certain situations. Not everybody wants to wear a hard hat every single time and every single day, but it's kind of funny. One of the main things that the general contractors see, the executive supervisors, the people that are actually the superintendents on jobs, they tend to have claims where they've tripped or fallen something or back up on something, bang their head. And next thing you know, you've got a potential workers' comp claim, even with a very skilled employee that you can't really probably afford to replace, number one. And number two, you certainly don't want any of your employees getting hurt. So there's little things like that. It just depends on your unique situation. So one of the things we do at Bollinger is we try to meet with our clients, actually have a in-depth conversation about by looking at their actual loss data, right? I mean, you can actually get the true details on what's gone wrong in the past. And in the past doesn't necessarily tell you what's going to happen in the future, but it does kind of predict a little bit what
The
could be happening.
pattern.
It's a pattern recognition for sure, for sure. So really think about it. We're trying to interrupt the pattern of claims because once one claim happens, then two, then three, then four. Next thing the horse is out the barn. You already got a big X mod, and you're paying a lot more than you used for a number of years. So, and the other part of that is obviously we try to also partner our clients with workers' comp insurance companies that have aggressive claims management. So they're not just writing blank checks or letting plaintiff attorneys run away with the purse string, so to speak, and jack up your X mod. So we try to partner with well, we do partner with a number of leading workers' comp insurance companies in the contracting space. I think we've got almost every single one of them. And some of them have better strengths and weaknesses. There's always trade-offs. Obviously price is one of the main concerns, but it's not the only concern. So we try to show people, what the trade-offs are.
So I think, I mean, obviously all those things are 100% valid. And I love a lot of the points that you made about, the differences between the trades and whatnot. So just in general, though, like big picture, these contractors, I mean, you talk about how these premiums are rising, even if you don't have the claims that you're mentioning, right? How can we balance that sort of, coverage and cost with these specific types of tradespeople?
One of the best ways really is to try to get in front, break the sequence of claims number one. Right now in California, we've had about 20 years of decreasing rates, right? The workers' comp rates 20 years ago were higher than they were right now. Wages are obviously higher. So the premiums might be about what some people were paying at a low point many years ago. But the reality is that the rates are still substantially down and the total cost is down for many of our contractor clients. And that's about to change. It really is. I mean, a lot of the claims that we're seeing now are, they're calling them cumulative trauma claims, and hopefully the state, gets this under control. But this is the same thing that happened, 20 years ago that caused the reforms that we had 20 years ago. I mean, I remember there's a time when we actually were telling clients that, hey, your costs for workers' comp doubled or tripled. And it was like if they didn't double or triple, we were telling them, oh, great, it's only 50% more this year. Well, that's just not the right way to be. And again, the best thing you can do is have zero claims. So at Bull Insure, of course, we do have that zero claims program that, obviously we've been talking about to a lot of our clients. And it's just a lot of little things. Everything is like fundamentals, if you will, right? It's like you're spring training for baseball, right? They're not talking about, grand slamming every at bat that you get. They're talking about the fundamentals, how you approach the bat, how you hold the bat, how you swing, what pitches you go for, what you don't, how to read things. Again, it's that sort of a thing. We're trying to help our clients win by doing many little things that, in totality, make a significant difference. We've had some of our clients go from a 150, 180X mod down to a 60 or 50 even in some cases.
And so they're
So
paying like a third the price, even though or like half the price, even if their payrolls are going up and they're getting bigger.
yeah, I mean, with that client situation, what happened is they were paying about three times, two and a half, three times what they should be paying. They do give some companies give credits as you start to get even 1 or 2 years of that zero claim program going, and it's getting traction, and your employees are being safer, and we've got it documented. We've got outside trainers and consultants coming in to help you and support your efforts, and maybe even a safety incentive program that we can help fund a little bit of. Again, we do want our clients to have skin in the game. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it really is your money it's on the line. It's, obviously our reputation, but it's also, your reputation too. One thing a lot of clients don't actually think about, but the bigger contractors at least understand, a lot of the larger general contractors are held to pretty high standards in terms of what their X mods can be. You get about a 120 to 130 in some cases, maybe 140. It's possible you won't qualify to build some certain bigger projects. And so now that pool of potential projects you're doing is shrinking as your workers' comp costs are doubling from where they should be. And when you combine those things, it's a lot of a headwind. I mean, a lot of our general contractors, especially if the market tightens, the margins just not aren't as good as they were. I mean, it's important that these general contractors know exactly what every bit is coming in at. Not even miss things like the cleanup of job sites. Like every dollar should have a name to it, including profit. And so our goal is to try to help, keep more money in our clients' pockets. And that way they can actually pay their employees better, have better long-term retention, and also not have a lot of churn of employees. When an employee gets injured, you got to bring somebody else temporarily in at least to fill in that gap or pay overtime. And if you have a new employee, you got to train them. I mean, these are all the hidden costs. We all know the premium you're paying for workers' comp, but in reality, all the rest of those costs are probably as big or bigger. This is just the one that we see because we're insurance professionals, and so that's the one that we talk about. But you as a business owner, I mean, you're aware of all the other costs that go into your business and how hard it is right now to find quality good people, especially hardworking people. It's not always an easy thing to do.
Yeah, people to team up with, right? I mean, it's one of the rarest things in the industry in the modern world, I think, is somebody who honestly cares, somebody who wants you to come in and to help them. And, obviously they might be able to help you. But I mean, just like going back to that level of like proactivity in terms of, that back and forth between the general contractor and the insurance broker. Can we get an example, like a real world example where let's say a general contractor maybe could benefit from like, those strategies that you had just talked about where, the risk management, the hard hats, things like that, just like examples that they might have experienced before with claims.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just depends, right? I mean, we bring a plethora of options and services and solutions to our clients. So it depends on their unique need. Like we've had clients get cited by Cal OSHA and, fined for tens of thousands of dollars. And, we help them kind of not get out of it. There's no getting out of it. I mean, once you're cited, you're cited. It's a really bad deal for general contractors. And one thing general contractors have to be aware of is every single sub on that job is your employee when it comes to Cal OSHA. So even if you're not paying workers' comp on them, you're still responsible for their safety and well-being. And so we do try to encourage them to be fully aware of that. So there's a thing like that happens, but also the other trades like the framers and the concrete people and the roofers, especially, they have a unique set of risk characteristics. And so, we also serve those subcontractors, especially skilled trades, in workers' comp insurance also. So it's not just the general contractors. I might have oversimplified that. But again, it's all levels of the project. You want everybody on the team that's there on that job to do good work, to be healthy, to
To
be
be safe
safe. Yeah. I mean, again, and
and to
yes,
be
good
insured.
be insured. Yeah, well, and again, whilst you have certificates of insurance, we can help you guys screen. We can help you set up programs and procedures. But at the end of the day, everything's a business decision for our clients, right? I mean, if they want to have a subcontractor that needs to have $10 million of insurance, but that's going to cost 20 or 30 grand in additional premium instead of 5 million or 1 or 2 million, whatever they will happen to have as standard. That all translates into that bottom line cost. And a lot of times the developers say they want that or they do require it, but when you actually dig into it, depending on the scope of the work that the person's doing, it may or may not be a true requirement. It might be desirable. It might be possibly preferred, but it may not be a true requirement. When you start talking dollars and cents with everybody along the line, you have to make those decisions. And a lot of times, they're asking for stuff that's not necessarily required. It's just nice to have. And so it's important that people have those tough and difficult conversations.
And it's important that you have a broker that is, proactive enough and knows enough about the industry to actually be able to interface with those companies who are, requiring those certs, let's say, right? And know, okay, well, contractually, you guys might prefer this in the average circumstance, but this is a solo guy. Why does he need hired and non-owned auto, right? It's like those type of things just they don't mesh up. And of course, there are examples with bigger scale companies where, a certificate of insurance that would normally be required could potentially be waived, right? So that extra, you say like 20, 30 grand, or I mean, realistically, like even 5 or 10 grand for some people, right? Like those things can be waived and you don't have to get those costs because you have, a proactive insurance broker behind you.
Every unique situation. Again, we don't ever say we can guarantee anything or fix everything, right? I mean, sometimes you do have to just buy more insurance. I mean, it's as simple as that. Things like employment practice liability insurance for the larger contractors, it's a cost of doing business in California. You must have it, especially in Southern California. The claims that we see, it's just all over the place.
Especially in this modern world. And that's one thing that I wanted to get into. So like the things like AI and drones and whatnot, what have you seen in terms of how that's been able to, impact negatively or positively the contractors, especially when it comes to insurance claims and things like that?
Well, AI is definitely here. I mean, but AI is more like automation, right? It's just another name for a
Well,
problem.
drones for like construction sites and things like that.
There's some inspections and stuff now that can be done that couldn't be done years ago, especially like looking for conditions of roof and stuff like that for homeowner policies and stuff like that. But I haven't seen a lot of drone coverage, honestly, recently, except for brush mapping. I mean, fire risk, especially if you're doing new construction near an open space, that's a significant concern. And sometimes, if we could get drone footage, it can help substantiate that maybe this risk is a little better than they're afraid of. But of course, the fires we've recently had, I mean, it's just not as easy as it used to be. And so, yeah, the drones and the AI, it's there. I think that we still have to work on the fundamentals, though. I think contractors need to be aware. It's not necessarily a new solution that's going to solve your, workers' comp problems or solve your auto liability claims or even solve your hiring claims, right? It's about trying to find good people, partner with good people, and get good results.
That's perfectly put. I mean, right? Like partnering is the whole goal with all of business. You want to find, whether it's a company, an insurance broker, find somebody who you can stick with, somebody who you can work with. And so, on that point, so like, what type of regulatory or compliance challenges have you been able to solve yourself when it comes to being able to help out contractors in recent years?
Well, we've already talked about the Cal OSHA stuff. I mean, it's one of those things that as a contractor, especially general contractors, everybody's well aware of it, right? They usually have a safety person on staff, but it's things like your subcontractors using frayed electrical cords or, ladders that aren't quite good enough, right? I mean, duct tape on a ladder is not a good place, not a good look. Rubber feet that are missing on the ladders. Those things can slide off underneath people and they could get injured very easily. So again, we're just trying to help people tighten up their processes to get better results, to help them save money, and but most importantly, help their employees work safer and harder. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're hardworking people. That's what makes or breaks your business. It's not the insurance, right? The insurance can help support those people, and
Yeah.
that's what we do with employee benefits, health insurance, workers' comp.
But insurance isn't the foundation of that.
Insurance isn't a foundation, but it's like a leg of the stool, right? You got to hire the good people. You got to have good business practices inside of your business. Good insurance agent or broker should be able to help you see some of your blind spots and help you avoid some of the dark alleys where some of the really bad claims can happen. And a lot of times it's simple little things, even things like wanting to be a good employer. I mean, I've had this conversation a lot. I mean, a lot of my clients are wonderful people. Some of them, it's like 20, 30 years now. I mean, seriously, I'm a second generation broker. You're a third generation insurance broker. And these are clients that your grandfather, helped when they were small contractors. So, we have it in our heart, a big place for people that are starting out, people that are hardworking, and people that are growing. And even people that aren't growing. I mean, we want to help make sure everybody does the best they can and gets a fair shake when it comes to the insurance solutions that are provided. But again, at the end of the day, it is up to the client to take it and run with it. We can only do so much, and we can't do it for our clients. But we do certainly try to cheerlead and coach and do what we can, when we can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's all our job is, right? I mean, to optimize, to, talk through things and to be able to be there and help and add actual value to people's lives, right? And so on that note, I mean, of course, every broker who's out there is doing their best. We have to assume. But what red flags can you identify maybe in some, broker behavior or actions that, some of these contractors should consider when they're choosing between them and somebody new?
Well, it always gets into cost versus benefit analysis, right? So, a lot of times people look at the cheapest premium, not necessarily the best insurance company. And a lot of times, no two policies are exactly the same. There's always those things called exclusions, right? It's like the insurance policy is like a slice of cheese, right? It's a slice of cheese, though, with a lot of holes in it. If you actually said, what is it? It's a slice of Swiss cheese. It's got big holes all over it. And some of these policies have holes so big, you're not even certain what you're really covered for. So there are exclusions that have time limits. There are certain requirements, though, as a general contractor or contractor required to have. For example, you hire a subcontractor, you must have a written contract. You must have certain things that, say, hey, this person is not going to sue me if something goes wrong as a subcontractor coming after you as a general contractor, and that they indemnify and defend you, and that you're additional insured on their policy. And you do things like that that helps trigger some of the automatic wording and some of the blanket additional insured endorsements. And those are the kinds of things that we talk to clients about. Most of the clients, though, honestly, are that sophisticated. That's not really usually an issue. But again, there are people that sometimes neglect the fundamentals, and then they're surprised when there's a claim. They're like, "Well, why is the claim being denied?" Well, it's being denied because you weren't professional. You didn't have the necessary minimum standards in terms of what an insured contract is. And so making sure that you at least have, that level of process and procedures is essentially what we recommend people do. And some of our clients, we meet with their attorneys, we talk it through, we give them pros and cons, we give them our opinion. At the end of the day, though, we can't give legal advice. All we can do is say, hey, we're insurance professionals. This is what we see. This is what we recommend. Here's what we would do. We think we should minimally do, or here's our best, case scenario. What we think you should have. Like for example, that $10 million umbrella or excess liability policy. Everybody should have $100 million of liability insurance. The problem is you can never have enough insurance, right? And no matter what, insurance feels like a waste of money. And a lot of times it is. I did have one attorney tell me, and I probably should trademark it, or he should trademark it. He said, may insurance be your best waste of money. And I think that's true. In a way, you're buying a policy, you're buying a set of promises. Hopefully, you're getting it from a good insurance company, a good insurance professional, and you get good results in the end.
Beautifully put. Most importantly, I mean, best results come from people who work hard, people who work together, people who work in tandem. That's what we try and offer. So, what's one thing takeaway that we could implement in 2025 as contractors to make sure that we're getting the best out of our insurance, best out of our broker, best out of our trade in terms of being covered?
Right now, I think the biggest hot button really is professional, well, sorry, just business auto. Business auto is it on the personal and professional side, and personal side, auto is it. I mean, in your personal side, personal auto is up substantially, commercial auto is up substantially, and it ties into the umbrella and excess liability policies substantially too. So those are the kinds of things that we've seen.
All right. Beautiful.
That's
It was
it.
amazing
Thanks so
talking to you,
much.
Brian. Thank you so much. I look forward to our next conversation.
We'll talk more again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. You guys have a good day. Good luck out there. Hope you guys do some good building today. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.